AP has a story this morning about Democrats either hosting podcasts, potential presidential candidates, either hosting podcasts or going on podcasts to try to compete in that space. Um, it talks about Pete Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer, Governor Beshear, and one
Pete,
other one.
Pete Buttigieg, right?
No,
Did you say him?
Yeah, yeah,
Buttigieg, Bashir, oh, Gavin Newsom.
yeah.
And then there's a couple articles, one in the New York Times, one in the Washington Post, with all these cringy accounts of really wealthy Democrats meeting in luxury hotels to talk about how they're synthetically going to speak to the the working class voters, not just white working class voters,
Code
working class
talker.
voters from around the country. So, Dan, just to reset, like, what's the right way for your party to approach communicating with voters who they need to win back, including through the format of podcasts?
I think that where the party's getting this a little bit wrong is it's not just kind of where they should go. Like you should go where voters are. Like just wherever. If they're today they're on podcasts, in 3 years they may be on some other new platform. And by the way, they should go on Mark Alpert and Sean Spicer's podcast if they're going to be inventorying where to go. The question is like, what are you saying and how are you doing it? I mean, Mark, you and I have laughed, and Sean has too, that Andy Beshear sounds like it's a Mr. Rogers, like he was wound up and he's so programmed. And to some extent, that's who he is. What Trump's secret sauce is, he feels at ease and at home kibitzing with these guys about sports and business and, trophy wives and kind of all the different things that he likes to talk about. And you get the sense that Trump could keep going for hours and hours and hours. And he's the same on, one podcast as he is on the other. These Democrats, I think part of the challenge is like you read and listen to some of them and they sound, it is the same speech, the same words, the same phrases as if they were in the Capitol Rotunda at the 2 o'clock press conference on Tuesday afternoon. And that just, if you're a listener of the podcast, and that comes on, you're like, ugh, right? Like, I don't want to hear this. So I think it's nothing says that we're making strides like focus grouping. How do we talk to white men? Which is what that said. I just think it's the party. You need to be authentic.
Yeah. So 3 points on this. One, I mean, most of these articles, there's a New York Times one that's similar to the AP that's pointing out like they're trying to address this bro problem that they have. But I agree with Dan. It's not a bro. I mean, it's an authenticity problem. When I do either trainings or sit down with clients, or whatever, the point that I make to people, there are tactics and strategies. Strategies involve multiple tactics. Going on a podcast, starting a podcast, sending a tweet or a press release or giving a speech is a tactic. That is not a strategy. A strategy involves multiple tactics laid out in a way that achieves a certain endpoint. And I think too many times the answer is, I saw someone go on a podcast. I should go on a podcast. It's not, why are you doing it? What is the end goal that you're trying to achieve, and work backwards? Because what may be a podcast for someone could be a long form speech for somebody else. But they're confusing tactics with strategy. And the last thing, and I hear this from folks all the time when I'm out doing events, like, how do I be more like Trump? And Dan's right. I mean, Trump is who he is because he spent years in an industry where he was walking around waiters and front of house staff, where he's talking about issues and to use Dan's word, kibitzing with them. It's like he gets that and he's comfortable. There are, as much as the Democrats might have problems, when I listen to some of our folks talk, they still don't get it. They'll get up there and be like, the CBO score when it comes to FMAP does not ensure. And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you just said. But that's not a relatable statement. And so Trump is a unicorn all the way up here. And then yes, JD Vance, I think, does a phenomenal job of doing it. Rubio's been an excellent messenger as well. And there's a few others at that top tier. And then it drops real quick. And everybody else says the same gobbledygook, acronyms, etc. And I think that's what we've got to remember. You've got Trump, and then JD, Marco, a few others here, and then not even close, like third tier.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing about Trump is, and as people think about, okay, like if the party wants to appeal to men, Trump doesn't just go on these podcasts, but then he goes to the UFC fights and he plays golf and he goes to the Super Bowl. Like he layers on so that you say the guy loves sports. The guy loves hanging out with kind of dudes and, and that is where it's like you can't just, here, Sean, your point, check a box and say, go on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Right.
Okay, now go back to everything else you like to do. Like,
right. So here's how I think about it.
It's a narrative, right, Dan? That's what you're saying. And that's the difference is you can't vote to let women into men's sports and then go back and be like, I'm a cool bro. It's like, dude, you can't, it's mixed messaging.
Right. So here's what I think about just this communications piece and this authenticity piece. Take Kamala Harris, Governor Beshear, and Donald Trump, and you play the following game. You give them all a sleeping pill, and they're fast asleep, and then you wake them up, okay, and you say, okay, through that door is Joe Rogan, and you're walking out there with no prep, and you're spending 3 hours with Joe Rogan, okay? Kamala Harris would refuse to walk through the door. Beshear would go through and not do great. And Donald Trump would walk in with no staff prep whatsoever and do fine, right?
Yep.
Same thing. Wake them up. Now you're walking from the entrance to your seat at a boxing match or a WWF fight. Go. Again, Trump doesn't need any staff prep, doesn't need a diagram. Kamala Harris would say, no, I'm not going to do that. Or she'd do it, whatever. It's just like they can spend 5 hours in staff prep. And Buttigieg, I'd say, is closer to Trump than Beshear and Harris. They can spend 5 hours in staff prep, or they can just say, yeah, I got this. I'm fine. I'm comfortable. I know how to communicate. I'm comfortable with myself. I'm authentic. I don't need prep. I can go on the Tonight Show. I can sit in the booth at the Super Bowl. I can go on any podcast. They could come on this program. Like if Donald Trump's staff said, you're going on the morning meeting in 5 minutes, he'd show up fine. If they said that to Kamala Harris, and I'm picking on her because she's particularly unwilling to go into stuff without staff prep. But same with Governor Beshear. It's just a basic. Like, can you do it without just authentically or not? And I'd say most of these Democrats cannot. I continue to listen to the Beshear podcast because people keep telling me he's going to be the nominee, and I'm telling you, go listen to it and tell me if that's your position. Hey, did you like that conversation? Well, you can be part of the Two-Way community. Join us live for interactive conversations like no other. Go to tway.tv. You can also watch anytime. Hit the subscribe button and watch our Two-Way clips and full episodes whenever your time allows.